Hi, welcome to my video on finding the equation of a quadratic using the sum and the products of the root method, part 3. The other two parts were done in the earlier videos. So this video will summarize the sum of the roots and the product of the roots, how to find the values of a, b, and c. Find the equation as ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 using the sum and the products of the roots. Well, we have root of 4 and a negative 2, so s is the sum. The sum is 4 plus negative 2, and that's a 2. And if the sum is 2, the sum is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a equals 2 and 2 over 1. Negative b equals 2, a equals 1. And we multiply the equation by negative 1, gives us b minus 2. So a is 1, b is negative 2. So now we need to get the c, and the c comes from the product of the roots. The product of the roots is 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. And the product is c over a. Therefore, c over a equals negative 8 over 1. C is negative 8 and A is 1. Notice A is 1 each time, so ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. A is 1. B is negative 2 and C is negative 8. So the equation is x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. And that's the quadratic equation that has those two roots. And if you sub either one of these roots into this equation, you will have it equal to 0. Let's do another one, b. We have two roots of 1/3 and a negative 4/5. So the sum is 1/3, add on negative 4/5. Common denominator for 3 and 5 is 15. So we multiply 5 by 3 to get 15, so 5 times 1 is 5, or 3 into 15 goes 5, 5 times 1 is 5, because we're adding fractions or subtracting fractions, we need a common denominator. So 5 times 3 is 15, so negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, or 5 into 15 goes 3, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Common denominator is 15, so we add up the numerators to get a negative 7. And the sum is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a is equal to negative 7 over 15. So that means that negative b equals negative 7 and a equals 15. So we multiply the equation by negative 1. Negative times a negative is positive b. Negative times negative 7 is 7. So a is 15, b is 7, but we need to get the c. So the product comes from 1/3 times negative 4/5. And there's no cancellation, so 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. 3 times 5 is 15. And the product is the c over the a. Therefore, c over a equals negative 4 over 15. C is equal to negative 4, and a is equal to 15. Again, a is 15 each time, so everything is okay. So the equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. A is 15, b is 7, and c is negative 4. And that's the quadratic equation that has those two roots. And c, we have one root, but we also know by now that there's a conjugate to this. 2 minus root 5 is the other root, because they're in conjugate pairs. Remember, irrational numbers with roots are in conjugate pairs, and imaginary numbers are in conjugate pairs. So the sum of the two roots is 2 plus root 5, add on 2, subtract root 5. When we add, the root 5's cancel out because of plus and minus, and we get a 4. So the sum of the roots is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a equals 4, which we can put over 1. Negative b is equal to 4, and a is equal to 1. Multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative b is b. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. We have a is 1 and b is negative 4. We need to find the c. So let's find the product of the two roots. So the product of the roots is 2 plus root 5 times 2 minus root 5. And when we multiply conjugates, we have a FOIL. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative root 5 is negative 2 root 5. Root 5 times 2 is a positive 2 root 5. And negative root 5 times a positive root 5 is a negative 5. Remember, root 5 times root 5 is 5. And when we add, they give us 0 because they're opposites, and that gives us a negative 1. So the product is c over a. Therefore, c over a is equal to negative 1. And a negative 1 goes over 1 to have a fraction. So c is negative 1, and a is 1. Again, a is 1 each time. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So a is 1, 1x squared. B is negative 4, so negative 4x. And c is negative 1. And the equation is x squared minus 4x minus 1 equals 0. Notice when I say a is 1, there are going to be times when a won't be the same, so we'll handle that situation when we get to it now in a minute. And the next, find the equation ax squared plus bx plus c using sum and products of the roots. So this is extra practice for you now, knowing how to, you understand how to do it. We have to get the sum of the roots and work on the negative b over a. We have to get the product of roots and work on c over a. Here we go. The sum is negative 6, add on negative 3 is negative 9. The sum of the roots is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a is negative 9 over 1. Negative b is negative 9. A is 1. Multiplied by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative b is b. Negative 1 times negative 9 is 9. A is 1, b is 9. Now we need to find what c is. So let's get the product of the roots. The product is negative 6 times negative 3, which is 18. And the product is the c over the a when it's in this form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Therefore, the product, c over a, is equal to 18 over 1. C is 18, a is 1. And a is 1 right here, and right here everything is okay. So we have ax squared, so we have 1x squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So x squared plus 9x plus 18 equals 0 is the quadratic equation that has those two roots. And again, you check it out by subbing the roots in to see if you get 0. Or if you factor this, you will get x plus 6, x plus 6, x plus 3. When you make them equal to 0, they become negative 6, negative 3. Number 2, the sum of the roots. The sum is negative a half, add on 3/4. Common denominator is 4. 4. 3/4 is already a common denominator. 2 into 4 goes 2. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. That gives me 1 over 4. When you add fractions, you keep your denominator, add your numerators. And the sum is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a is 1 over 4. Negative b equals 1, and a equals 4. And we multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative b is b. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. So a is 4, b is negative 1. Now we'll find c. The product is c over a, so the product of the roots is negative 1/2 times 3/4. Can't cancel, so -1 times 3 is -3. 2 times 4 is 8. And now we have the product is C over A. Therefore, C over A is equal to -3 over 8. That means C is equal to -3 and A is equal to 8. Now, A is 4 here and is 8 here. So we have to make the A's the same. That means we have to go back and check it right here. Because if we look back here, if we make A to be 8, that means we double it. So that means if A is going to be 4 times 2 to give 8, then B has to be, you have to multiply the A by 2 to get 8. You have to multiply the B by 2 to balance it. So 2B is -2. So that means A is 8, A is 8, B is -2. Sorry, A is 8, B is, again, you can see that B, now you double it. So the value of B is -2. So A is, if another way to think about that, if you want, is to go up to here and say -B over A is 8. You want A to be 8, so you double to get 8. So you have to go 2. So 1/4 becomes 2/8. So A is 8 and B is, -B is 2. So B is -2. So think of it that way. So A is 8, 8x squared. B is -2. Make it a -2. That's the subtraction sign there. And C is -3 equals 0. So again, A has to be, I always saying, what is A each time? If A is the same, then we're okay. But if it's not, you have to make, it's best to go back to this one right here and make this fraction with A to be 8. So you double your denominator to get 8, you double your numerator. So that gives you 2 over 8. So then you take off and do your A's and B's correctly. Number 3, 4 minus I, the conjugate is 4 plus I. The sum of the roots is 4 minus I, add on 4 plus I. And the i's cancel out, and you get sum of the roots is 8. So the sum is -B over A. So it's -B over A equals 8 over 1. So -B. And again, if you want to work them out first, just then, remember, A was 4 and then 8, so we had to increase, make it equivalent with your denominators. So just beware that we multiply by negative. So A, -B is 8. So A is 1. Multiply by -1, make it a B equals -8. And the product of the roots is 4 subtract I times 4 plus I. And 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times I is plus 4I. Negative I times 4 is -4I. And a negative I times a positive I is a -I squared. They cancel out, opposites. And -I squared is the negative of a -1. So that's 16 plus 1, which is 17. So the product of the roots is C over A. So the product of C over A equals 17 over 1. C is 17, A is 1. A is 1, A is 1, everything is okay. So A is 1, so it's a 1A, 1x squared, minus B is -8, C is 17. And so the equation is x squared minus 8x plus 17 equals 0. We'll give you those two imaginary roots. And number 4, 3 root 2. The conjugate is a -3 root 2 because they're in conjugate pairs. So the sum of the roots is 3 root 2. Add on negative 3 root 2. That gives you 0. So the sum of the roots is negative b over a. And so negative b over a equals 0 over 1. Negative b equals 0. A equals 1. So multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times negative b is b. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. And we have to get the product of the roots. The product is 3 root 2 times negative 3 root 2. And that gives me negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 3 is 9. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. So the product is negative 18. And the product is c over a. So c over a is a negative 18 over 1. C is negative 18. A is 1. A is 1 here and 1 here. So everything is okay. So a is 1. So it's x squared. B is 0. C is negative 18. And that equation can become b is 0. So x squared minus 18 equals 0. And let's continue. More practice. Number 5. We got to find the equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 using the sum and the products of the roots. So the sum is 7 over 8. Add on 1/6. Common denominator for 8 and 6 is 24. So 8 divided into 24 is 3. 3 sevens are 21. 6 into 24 goes 4. 4 times 1 is 4. Remember, you're multiplying 8 by 3 to get 24, so you multiply 7 by 3 to get 21. 6 times 4 is 24, so 1 times 4 is 4. So we get a common denominator is 24. We add, and we get 25. So the sum of the roots is negative b over a. Therefore, negative b over a is 25 over 4. So negative b equals 25 and a equals 24. Multiply by negative 1. B is negative 25. A is 24. So the product of the roots, product is 7 over 8 multiplied by 1/6. 7 eighths are 7 times 1 is 7. 8 times 6 is 48. So we have the product is c over a. C over a equals 7 over 48. So c is 7 and a is 48. And a right here is 24. But we want a 48. So that means we'll go back to here and we'll increase this one by 2 to get to 48. So we'll increase that one by 2. So that gives us, instead of having a 24, we want a 48. So that gives us negative b over a. 24 times 2 is 48. 25 times 2 is 50. So negative b equals 50. And a equals 48. So again, we got negative 1 times negative b is b. Negative 1 times 50 is the negative 50. So notice we wanted a 48, so all we had to do was just double these right here. But I just wanted to show you in relation to this fraction. So a is 48, x squared. B is a negative 50. And c is 7. And again, notice the a has to be the same in the sum of the roots and in the product of the roots. So that's why I had to double the 24 to get a 48, and therefore I had to double the negative 25 to get negative 50. So the a's has to be the same. And number 6, we have imaginary numbers, so we have conjugates. It's a half plus 2i. And the sum of the roots is negative a half minus 2i. Add on negative a half plus 2i. And they cancel out because they're opposites. And we get a negative a half, and a negative a half is a negative 1. It's a negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. and the sum of the roots is negative b over a. So negative b over a equals negative 1 over 1. Negative b equals negative 1. A is 1. Multiply by negative 1. B is 1. And we have to get the product of the roots. The product of the roots is the negative a half minus 2i times negative a half plus 2i. So negative a half times negative a half is negative 1/4. Negative times positive is the negative. A half of 2 is 1. So there's an I. Negative I times the negative a half is a positive. 2 times a half is 1. We get an I. And a negative 2i times positive 2i is a negative 4i squared. And they cancel out, plus and minus. And we get a quarter. That's 1/4, negative 1/4. And negative 4i squared is a negative 4. I squared is negative 1, so that's a plus 4. And we add a common denominator is common denominator is 4, so you got to be careful. So negative 1/4 is the same denominator. 1 into 4 goes 4, so that gives us 16. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4. That gives us 15 over 4. And we have the product is C over A. So C over A is 15 over 4. C is 15. A is 4. Now look back up here, and guess what? We have to have A is 4. So we have to multiply by 4. So 1 times 4 gives me a 4. So B has to be multiplied by 4 also. So B is 1 times 4. And 4. So now we have A is 4, B is 4. So A is 4, B is 4, and C is 15. Again, if you look right here, A is 4, C is 15. So I had to go back and multiply both of these numbers by 4, because if A is 1, multiplied by 4 gives me 4. B got to be multiplied by 4, because the A's, if A is 4 here, A got to be 4 here. So multiply that by 4, which I did to get 4. I had to multiply B by 4. Remember, 1 over 1 is the same as 4 over 4. So that's the equation that has those two roots. So just be careful. Especially the A's have to be the same in the sum and the product. So if they're not, you multiply to make them the same. A's have to be the same. And if you like my video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. And that's the contest on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.